Caroline is on the ground right now. She's there watching what's unfolding. Caroline, what's the latest from your vantage point?
Well, Brad, we are still in the area of 115th and Ballantyne, but take a look at what's happening behind me. Neighbors have come out in force to watch the effort here. And you all were talking earlier about what Jason said with the cinders flying and spreading. Well, this fire was seen for a long ways. And a man that I spoke to, his name was Ben. He was leaving Johnson County Community College. He drove over here out of curiosity, and he actually helped a man out of his house. The man's name is Jim. Jim had no idea that his house was on fire. Ben was going door to door down this street here, knocking on people's doors, trying to get them out of here because of how fast the fire was spreading, because of those cinders that we talked about earlier. Now, I also spoke with Ben a little bit about that feeling. He said that the idea to help people out was just instinct, to start getting here and getting people out and getting them to safety. Now, like I said earlier, there is a determination with the neighbors here to make sure that this fire stops spreading, but we'll have to see what happens over the next few hours. As people come home, they're definitely going to start those preventative measures with the water on their grass and on their roofs. I'm going to go talk to a few more people to see what their take on all of this is and how they're feeling about this day. And when I learn more, I'll let you know. Brad and Ellen.
All right, thanks, Caroline. And Caroline tweeted some video, too, of people spraying, their lawns, their gardens, their roofs. So, we have that up as well on Twitter. We're getting a lot of information on Twitter as well on KCTV 5. This is a live picture now from Chopper 5, and you can see that it is above another home here. This is the neighborhood that Caroline Sweeney was in near 115th and Ballantyne, and we're told about a dozen homes have gone up in flames because of this massive fire that started at the apartment complex. And these homes are big. They're 4,000, 5,000 square feet. They typically have basements, lovely homes, lovely neighborhoods in Johnson County, and they didn't have a chance. They really didn't. And there was really no rhyme or reason where these embers spread and where the flames spread from the apartment complex. And you can see that this ladder truck now, they're moving a little bit closer to the roof. They're trying to tackle that fire from the top and get that thing under control.
But you can see, look at that, the venting on the top of that roof. You know that there's big problems inside that house because there's smoke coming out of that venting. So there's another. So Jason Rhodes of the Overland Park Fire Department about 20 minutes ago, maybe 15 minutes ago, said that he estimated there was about a dozen houses that had been affected, or that were not affected, but that were on fire. That number, I believe, that's grown because we continue to see different homes, other homes in different parts of the neighborhood. This home we had not seen before. I was just texted by a friend who said there was a duplex that looked like it had caught fire. So, and the amazing thing about this, when Jason Rhodes was first talking about this during his first press briefing, is he said that it wasn't the embers that caused the first fire to the first houses. It was just the heat, the sheer heat that was being generated by that apartment complex that had gone up. So, Gary, when you talk about a large structure like that apartment complex going up in flames, and those flames were massive, Gary. I can't imagine the temperature of that.
Right, and the framing on the complex is made up of pine, basically, and pine burns very fast, but it burns very, very hot as well. And I couldn't place a number on what those flames were, but if it's hot enough to instantly combust a nearby house, it had to be at least 1,000 degrees or more.
We want to go live out to a scout camera to show you the impact that this is having right now on traffic. So this is I-35 southbound. It's on the left side of your screen. And what's going on is not only is 69 highway backed up, but 35 is an absolute parking lot in Johnson County, Kansas right now. And you can see it's a little hazy. The picture's not the greatest, but you can see it's pretty hazy. And it's southbound I-35 is on the left side of your screen. So that's causing some serious problems there, I-35 southbound. Let's go out live now to
So we got him out of the house.
Listen in.
Another gentleman helped him, put his arm around him, and then I got his chair from his front porch, and we got him across the street. And then over the course of maybe an hour or so, we've been kind of constantly moving over here, just kind of getting him more and more away from the embers.
What were you hearing when you came over here? What did you hear while you were out here?
I just heard the smoldering smoke from over there, from the apartment buildings.
Did you hear any fire trucks, any sirens?
No, there were no fire trucks here at the time. It was just neighbors.
What was going through your head when you started thinking about we've got to get people out of here? What were you thinking?
I just got out of my car to, you know, look at the fire, and then all of a sudden, you know, there's some embers landing, so I'm like, oh shit, I was like, oh dang, I gotta help. So I got out, saw a guy, said, hey, let's start knocking on doors, and I just, you know, just instinct took over, I guess.
So now what? What are you going to do now?
I guess I'm just going to wait, see how it goes, because my car is still over there. Jim, the guy I helped out of his home, he is currently going to meet his daughter who just got off work, and so they had to walk that way. I lost track of him, but I was there with him. I got him a bottle of water, you know, and helped him sit down to a safe place where he wasn't gonna inhale smoke. What was actually funny was he went back inside of his house.
Hold on, Ben. I'm so sorry. We need to head back. It was very nice to meet you. Okay. I've got like 3 people talking in my ear.
All right, you've been listening to an interview with someone who was being a good Samaritan, that young man who stopped to go see if he could help, how he could help, helping neighbors there in the area. And we know we live in a good city, that's what people do when we have tragedy like this. This is a live shot now from Chopper 5, which has been hovering over this fire now for quite some time, as firefighters on their ladder truck continue to just pour gallon after gallon of water into this unfinished apartment complex, luxury living apartments in Johnson County, affecting so many people. As many as a dozen homes have caught fire because of this, and it continues to affect so many people in Johnson County. I believe we have Natalie Davis, who's also on the ground right now. Natalie, can you hear me?
That's right. Yes, I can, Brad. Hi.
Natalie. Hi, Natalie. Where are you and what are you seeing?
Yeah, we're at 116th Terrace and Neiman Road. It's an absolute traffic nightmare around this area. First message to you, get off the roads if you can. Fire trucks from all over the region are trying to get through. Like I said, 116th Terrace and Neiman. You can see behind me we've got a fire truck with its ladder up trying to put out what appears to be some smoking and a fire on the roofs of some of these homes over here. There are quite a few houses in this neighborhood with the roofs on fire, some worse than others. A lot of people out with their garden hoses trying to douse their roofs to protect their homes. If you take a look down the street this way, you see numerous fire trucks here on the ready for more embers that we've seen coming from that apartment building that was under construction that caught fire. We will continue to talk to neighbors here. You can see there are a lot of them out kind of watching what's going on with their dogs, with their families. Many neighbors in the area trying to help each other and douse some of the homes that are in a little bit more danger. They must have just gotten a call because they're honking and actually heading down the road. It appears to handle some more fires. We'll continue to monitor this for you from 116th Terrace and Neiman. Natalie Davis, KCTV 5 News.
Now, Natalie, we know that you are at 116th, and there's kind of, there's people that are just kind of looking right now. Have you talked to anyone whose home has gone up in flames, or have you seen someone's home gone up in flames at this point?
We have seen, just as I was walking here to meet up with my photographer, I did see a home up in flames. A lot of neighbors discussing my neighbor's home is completely ruined. It's gone. It wasn't, completely lost, but the roof completely up in flames. Otherwise, it's taken us about an hour to get here as well because of that terrible traffic around the area. Again, if you can, try to stay off the roads, give the firefighters the room they need to get through and address the problem. A lot of houses in danger today.
Yeah. Well, you're right about that. Natalie Davis reporting live. Thanks, Natalie. We'll check in with you a little bit later. Thank you. And Gary, we were talking about this just moments ago. It's not just the houses that are on fire that are in danger of suffering damage here. There are all kinds of other things. Just because of the proximity of some of these houses, there's all kinds of other things that can happen to these houses.
Pretty much. I mean, when you look at the massive amount of smoke that's rolling through, and there, at least in my estimation, there's very little that smells any worse than a house when it catches on fire. And that smoke has been rifling through neighborhoods and impacting literally hundreds of houses. So even if your house withstood this situation and didn't catch fire or have any sort of flame damage to it. You certainly could have smoke damage, and it may take weeks to get the smell. I mean, just the smell alone out of some of these neighborhoods. And of course, we have literally thousands of people on I-35 right now that are basically stopped, and it's a parking lot out there. So if you are listening in on your KCTV 5 News app, we want to tell you that this is an ongoing situation, and it may take you a long time to get back home again. Basically, I'm seeing fire truck after fire truck. They said about every one in Johnson County is down here, from what I understand, and all the neighboring towns.
Yeah, we know all the neighboring fire departments are there right now. That was from the Overland Park Fire Department. They told us that they're getting help from county after county right now to fight this fire and to stop it from spreading to other homes. At least a dozen homes affected. We want to show you some video before. So this is video of the apartment complex that we got a tour of. This is the apartment complex that went up in flames. This is where it started. It was a $450 million project called City Place at College and Schweitzer near College and Neiman, just to the west of 69. And you can see that it's luxury living here. And there were 5 apartment buildings at this complex. One of them that was only framed, that is where that fire started. And when it caught on fire, the framing, it went up in just a matter of minutes. So it started around 3:30. It's about 5:10 at this point. So still the flames are spreading, and unfortunately is not only the apartment complex, what you're looking at here, some of the apartments that were a little bit closer to completion that you're looking at right now, the flames from the area that was not completed spread to this as well. So the fire department, and that is what you're looking at right now from Chopper 5. Chopper 5 is above the units that were looking to be a little bit more completed. And again, the flames really not letting up at any point so far. So
well, it just gives you an idea of the incredible task that those firefighters, regardless of this fire or whatever fire that firefighters go out and fight, it is so hard to knock the flames down of a fire when it's had a head start like it did. And again, the part of the apartment complex that started on fire, they had framed it out, but there wasn't a lot of, I'm not sure there was any sheetrocking involved in it, and that's what helps. If there is a fire in an apartment complex where the sheetrocking is in place, that will slow the spread of a fire dramatically, but I do not believe that there was much sheetrocking in the part of the apartment complex that started on fire. So right now, it's almost, going on an hour and 45 minutes after this fire started, firefighters are still at it. I mean, dumping water on this apartment complex, and the fire is still winning.
Yeah.
And we've seen what it's done to the neighboring homes. I mean, I just, you just kind of have to stop and take a breath and think about what the neighbors are thinking and going through as they watch their homes going up on fire, their neighbors' homes, their neighborhood under assault by this fire that continues to beat down on this apartment complex, but then skip randomly from house to house. It's been unbelievable to watch, to see how much damage what fire can do and how fast it can spread and how many lives it can impact.
And that fire is spreading south, and that is hitting the 115th Street, 115th Terrace, Ballantyne Street, the homes in that neighborhood. And you can look right now, so not only do you have the homes and neighborhoods affected, but you also have traffic is pretty slow and go, particularly on I-35. So if you look actually just above that roads right now sign, you can see that it's kind of a parking lot there on I-35. And 435 near 69 highway is extremely slow and go. I-35 at 69, there's an alert, and that is showing you that you've got to avoid that area. I think we have a traffic camera set up as well to kind of show you some of the backup too. I know we've looked at the scout camera as well earlier, and it showed some of the backup that folks were dealing with. Our Natalie Davis and Nathan Vickers, it took them an hour to get to the scene. So this is a live shot now. This is I-35, I believe, southbound from our scout camera. And you know, you got to avoid I-35 right now, southbound near 69 Highway and 69 near 435, because that's where a lot of the backups are happening, because the smoke keeps spreading.
Right, and the people who are there on the roadway, they don't want to be there right now. They'd love to get off there, but they can't. They're stuck now. They literally are in a traffic parking lot, and as Natalie Davis mentioned, you know, there are still other fire crews from surrounding areas that are trying to make their way to this area to help. So this is a concerted effort from so many different fire departments, so many different people involved in this. And I don't know, it was probably, I'm going to guess, 35, 40 minutes ago, Ellen, when we watched that heartbreaking scene of a man on his front yard with his garden hose trying to keep his house from spreading on fire because his neighbor's home was already on fire. He was using his garden hose to keep his roof wet, and then we saw him turn around and then start to hose off his neighbor's house as well. So this is now a shot from the ground as we continue to look at this apartment complex and just the smoke that is billowing from this apartment complex. This apartment complex that, you know, some parts of it were very, very close to completion, and I think they were even looking at beginning to rent some of those units out. So it'll be interesting to you know, as the days and weeks progress, it'll be interesting to hear from the developers, you know, what their plans are. What do they plan to do next? You know, how much damage did this do to the units that were close to being finished? So much work to do following this massive fire. And
we are working right now. I mean, I think Overland Park Fire Department right now, they have to battle these flames here. So their concern right now is not necessarily what caused this fire at the beginning. They're trying to figure out, how do we stop it right now? So that will be something that we will learn in the coming days, and exactly where it started, what caused this fire in that one apartment building that was only framed at that point. We have crews covering this from every angle. We not only have Chopper 5, we are giving you live pictures right now, and we also have interviews from people who are affected by this fire. We want to go now to Natalie Davis, who's live on the ground, who has an interview for us. Natalie.
Yeah, hey, Ellen. Hey, Brad. We're at 116th Terrace and Neiman, a neighborhood that's been impacted by the embers we've seen fly from that apartment complex that was on fire. I'm here with Nicole. Nicole, describe what you've seen in the last hour and a half.
Okay, well, I was coming home from the grocery store, and I went up the street because I saw the smoke, and I was just kind of curious as to where it started from. And by the time I came back, I was actually visibly seeing all the flames above the tree lines from my actual driveway. And then, I mean, I ran down there to try to see if I could do anything to help, like get animals out or just whatever. And I just saw all these houses starting to go up into flame from the debris that was falling, and it's just like been crazy ever since.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Definitely not, no. So it's been so scary.
Talk about some of the things that you've been hearing from your neighbors. Were they able to get their pets out? Were they trying to douse with water? What were you seeing?
So we got a couple pets out that I actually took one into my house for somebody else. And then pretty much anybody that they thought would be affected, we've been out here trying to wet down our roofs as much as possible and wet down the grass and any debris that's fallen just to make sure that there's no flame that starts from it.
We've heard that there are at least a dozen houses that have caught fire because of this. What's your reaction to that?
I just hope mine doesn't. But I don't know, it's so scary. Like, I mean, and anyone could be affected. It has gone from 17th all the way up to like 13th. So, I mean, so many houses and people have been affected. It's just terrible.
All right, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us. As Nicole said, this really is impacting so many people. It's like nothing we've ever seen before in this area. You can see behind me, we've got fire trucks that are working to douse. Oh, they maybe calmed down now. They were working to douse a fire on the roof of one of these homes. It looks like they've got that under control. We did see about 3 or 4 fire trucks speed off just a few minutes ago, likely to handle more fires in the area. We'll continue to keep tabs on this for you. We're at 116th Terrace and Neiman in Overland Park. Reporting live, Natalie Davis, KCTV 5 News.
All right, Natalie, thank you very much. We continue to watch this fire from above. Chopper 5 providing this look. We've been watching this house for some time. The smoke now really coming out of the venting in that roof. Just a heartbreaking scene as you watch firefighters trying to do what they can to save some of these homes that are near that apartment complex. Many of these homes will be, some of these homes will be total losses. We've seen some that have, the flames have just burned right through the roof. I know our Gary Amble showed us, has been talking about a really interesting perspective meteorologically, Gary.
Well, meteorologist Chris Suchan did a close-up look with Doppler radar at the smoke plume. Now watch it 3:30 in the afternoon. Wow. Watch the timestamp. Watch it blow up right out of that flame. That's on Doppler. That's basically the embers and the debris. When that flame was at its highest, it was actually being picked up on radar. Wow. And actually, that's not just low level. I mean, that was really intense. And then watch it follow that path of wind down to the south, meaning that you could smell the smoke, I'm sure, in Spring Hill. You may have had embers falling as far south as Spring Hill. Now, they may not have been burning at the time, but this was massive. And again, if it can be picked up on Doppler radar that's in Pleasant Hill, Missouri, and you can pick it up with that kind of intensity, that was one hot fire, and it had lots of embers that went hundreds of feet in the air in order to be picked up on radar like that.
And to your point, that's what Jason Rhodes was talking about, was he said it wasn't the embers that began the first houses on fire. It was just the sheer heat of that massive fire at the apartment complex. It was so hot, it just began the houses that were near it on fire because of the heat.
Because of the heat, it just instantly combusted the houses that were next door to it. But because of that intense heat, and we all know that heat rises, it can rise to the point of several hundred feet in the air. And if you have hot burning debris hundreds of feet in the air, that's why, and this is what impressed me so much, is that the houses were literally blocks away that were catching fire. And that's because of that on-fire debris that was literally falling out of the sky blocks away from that apartment complex.
I thought what you said was so scary, was that it's like matches, lit matches are just being thrown around, and that's like what that debris was, and where it lands, nobody knows. You just pray it's not your own house. Let's go out live now to Caroline Sweeney. Caroline, you were in that neighborhood near 115th and Ballantyne, and that's the neighborhood directly across from the apartment complex.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly where we are. And Gary was just talking about the number of homes that have caught fire because of those embers that are flying through the air from this massive fire. Well, I spoke with a man earlier, just about 30 minutes ago, and I learned a little bit more about his efforts here. So he arrived in this area, and you can still see that there are people out here watching the efforts from the fire department. But I was speaking with a man named Ben, and he came knocking on doors in this neighborhood. A stranger. He doesn't live here. He was leaving Johnson County Community College, and he started knocking on doors, saw a screen door open, went inside, and then told the man who had earbuds in. This man's name is Jim. Jim had his earbuds in, watching TV, had no idea his house was on fire. And you can just see that people here really want to help each other. They're out here supporting each other, watching the efforts of the fire department. I saw one woman walking around with bottles of water, trying to make sure that those people that were here in an effort to save these homes were given every opportunity to. As soon as I get an update, I'll bring you more. Ellen.
Thank you, Caroline. Yeah, Jim is a hero today. We've heard from a number of them actually in that neighborhood, even Jim, who was a stranger who showed up. We want to go live now to Natalie Davis. Natalie, you're also in that neighborhood.
Yes, right now we're at 116th Terrace and Neiman Road. It's really been a community effort to try to protect people's homes from these fires. We've seen numerous fires, at least a dozen houses that have caught fire because of embers that have traveled from that original apartment complex that was under construction. We just talked to someone who said as soon as she saw the smoke and the flames, she started running to neighbors' houses trying to make sure that pets were out and safe, helping people douse their roofs, trying to protect their homes in any way that they can. If you take a look down the street here, you'll see neighbors are lining the street, kind of watching and seeing what's going on, waiting and keeping tabs on the roofs of their homes to make sure they don't catch fire. We have paramedics here. We have numerous firefighters here. We've seen firefighters from all over the area, Overland Park, Lee Summit, Kansas City, Missouri. It's all hands on deck to handle this massive fire that we've been dealing with. We will continue to check in with residents, see what they're going through. They're going to ask us to move to a different staging area for the media, and we'll try to get more information information there for you and bring it to you right here on KCTV 5. Live at 116th Terrace and Neiman, Natalie Davis, KCTV 5 News.
All right, Natalie, thank you. Clearly, there's been extensive property damage. So far, no injuries. That's the good news. Let's get a different perspective now from our own Emily Sinovic. Emily?
Okay. Guys, where Natalie is standing, it's quite a distance from where the apartments are. It's right there. She's all the way down here. We're talking blocks and blocks away. And you can see traffic between Quivira and 69, totally red. Basically a parking lot. 69, also a parking lot, especially going southbound. Now, if we want to take a look at what these apartments were supposed to look like, I'll show you here. These were luxury apartments. Very nice. We're talking about $1,000 to thousands of dollars. $3,000 or so to rent these apartments. It was supposed to be, again, hundreds of units and mixed use. So retail, some senior living as well. And again, part of a $450 million project you can see now is basically destroyed. Back to you.
Emily, you talked about the areas, that are just obviously affected right now. So right now what you're looking at is a before and after. So you have before is on the right side, after is on the left side of your screen. Before is on the right there of what these luxury apartment complexes were supposed to look like. That's what some of them did actually look like, because some of them were almost ready to be leased. The pool was filled. It was ready for people to start living there. And on the left there, you can see just what happened to that apartment complex. Emily was talking about the roads that are affected. We just heard from the folks from Overland Park that they are urging people to stay off College, 119th, 69, because fire trucks are responding from everywhere trying to get to these neighborhoods that are affected. So, I mean, it's just basically Overland Park is pleading for the public's help to stay off these roads if you can avoid them. Don't come and check it out and, just basically rubberneck. There's no need. Get off the road. You don't need to be in that area.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It took some of our reporters an hour to get there, and that was 45 minutes ago. I mean, it is a traffic nightmare, not just in that area, but so many areas around there. This is this is video that you're seeing that we shot earlier. So this is not live. This is not a live look that you're looking at. But again, this now has been going on for close to 2 hours. And they still do not have the upper hand on the fire at that apartment complex. Again, this is video you're looking at. We shot this I would guess, almost an hour ago. But this just gives you an idea of how hot those flames were, how big this fire was, how fast that fire spread. That was another thing. Not only was it then spreading to other homes, and then that made the problem of fighting this fire even more complex for the firefighters, because then, where do you send the pumper trucks? Well, you send them to where you can see the flames jumping out of the roofs of the homes. But then as they continue to fight the fire at this apartment complex, it then spread to neighboring garage units of that apartment complex, and they still don't have all the flames knocked down at this apartment complex. Jason Rhodes of the Overland Park Fire Department, I thought, described it best. He said, this looks like a war zone. And we know we hear that from time to time, and sometimes that term and that phrase gets overused when we hear about, problems that are going on in certain areas of the world. But this, clearly, in this area of Overland Park, for a time being, the way the flames were raging and how it was affecting dozens of homes in that area, it did look like a war zone.
And Jason Rhodes said, too, in his history of being a firefighter, he's been a firefighter for a very long time, too. He said he's never seen anything like this. And, a lot of times when a fire happens, even if it is at a massive apartment complex or a massive building, it's pretty controlled. They get a handle of it, and it's no big deal, and they knock it down. But when it affects homes, at least a dozen homes, maybe more, where it's jumping and there's really no rhyme or reason to where those flames and where those embers are jumping to, you have a whole nother ball game that you have to figure out, and it is extremely difficult. This is video right now of earlier, so we just want to point that out. This is not live video at this point, but it shows you the intensity of those flames and what happened when the apartment complex that was under construction, that was framed, so it didn't really have anything else, it was just framed, caught on fire. And then it spread and it spread, and the winds carried it south to the neighborhood where these homes are very close together. They're big homes. Some of them have roofs that are the wooden shingles which, as you know, can go up in a matter of seconds. And again, really no rhyme or reason to what homes have been affected.